speaking today, and I've been thinking a lot about it. I've been thinking a lot about George, of course. And I went outside. It was such a beautiful morning, and it was early, you know, the time that all the birds are out. And I was thinking, I'm going to try my speech. I'm going to try to, you know, say it out loud the way I normally do when I'm going to be making saying something in public. So I was trying to gather my thoughts and say something, and these birds, this one bird on the right, Stellar Jay. And then on my left, acorn woodpecker. I'm like, damn it! And then I realized at that moment, that was George. That was George. It was George's spirit. It's all around us. It's here in Occidental. It's all around the West County. It's in the river, the ocean, the laguna. It's a spirit so linked with nature, it has blended into all of this around us. We're all here today together to celebrate George's life. When people talk about the fabric of the community, they're talking about George. George wove us all together. He was a weaver with his stories and his love for his wife, for his family, for his community. He spent his life here in Occidental, digging deep into the history of the county and telling us all in the most beautiful prose imaginable about the ranchers, about the farmers, the lumbermen, the settlers, and of course, the Native American people who lived here long before us. When George wrote about conservation, and he wrote a story about it, he didn't just skitter along the top of it. For everyone who's read George's stories, you know that. It was that really engaging with the people that had saved the land, the people that had made it available to be turned over to a park, like all the beautiful lands we've preserved here as a result of George's work. He told that story and he showed us what conservation is really about. It's not just about the last moment, it's about all those moments that come before. And then, of course, George took his talent and he transformed that into actions and deeds. He wasn't just a person that wrote about it, he actually did it. When the County Board of Supervisors honored George last year with the Gold Resolution, they described him as a major force in policy development and environmental awareness for over 30 years. They recognized that his journalism and his work had focused attention on the natural wonders of our wild, beautiful land, and it resulted in the protection of these gems of nature for generations to come. As Ernie just said, George was on the Fish and Wildlife Commission for 10 years, but you also should know every major environmental organization, essentially, represented by people here, the head of the Land Trust, the Open Space District, Land Paths, every entity that's done something to protect the environment in Sonoma County, George had something to do with in the West County. And those things wouldn't exist without George. We wouldn't have Willow Creek. We wouldn't have all of this land protected without George. He cared so much about it. And he did all of these things because he felt so strongly about the world around him. He felt it so intensely. And he had a fierce devotion to it, to the outdoors. And he was lucky to be able to have the gift to turn this incredible feeling about nature into stories that he shared with all of us. And not just his written stories. He was an amazing storyteller, as his family, I'm sure, will tell you, his kids. So for all of us who were so lucky to be part of his world, we're never going to forget those stories. And the person that was so humble, and yet so amazingly talented, that could tell them. So when you walk out of this beautiful chapel today, on this pristine Occidental morning, use all your senses and open up to hear the birds, smell the forest, and look up at the bright blue sky. George will be there in all of these things. His spirit is now embedded in them and all around us. love you so much, George.